Hello everybody. So it's actually been a few days now since we installed the beams. So I've had some massively long days at work and I have not had very much time to actually come in this room and work. So the room has basically been sitting since my dad helped me install all these beams up on the ceiling. Really today our next step is to actually start installing some fixtures around the room. Originally, this room, before we bought it, had a ceiling fan in the very middle, and then it had some lanterns. And we are actually going to replicate that look because I really like the concept of having lanterns, especially in a house of this style. So essentially what we're going to do is we're actually going to drill a hole through the beams, and we're actually going to install a fan on the central beam in the room, and then we're going to install hanging lanterns on the other two beams. So in order to do that, we need to get some really big screws through the beam all the way up through the ceiling and through the joist up in the roof. So I think we're just going to have to drill some holes, see where it goes, and then I'll talk a little bit later about the fan and the lanterns once we get there. Okay, so last night I actually got the holes drilled through the beams in the ceiling, and I also ran the wires for our fan and our lanterns that we're going to be installing in this room. Now, last night I thought about it and I was so ready to install the fan. It's pretty warm in this room, honestly, because the room's currently very closed off and there's no cross ventilation from the rest of the house. So I really look forward to getting the fan in here. But I had to stop that and I had to pause for a second because I realized there's actually still some mess that I need to make in this room. So one thing that I came to realize is that the door frames in this room are really messed up for some strange reason. So the door to the hallway has just big chunks missing from it. I don't understand why they would just cut random chunks out of the door frame. And then the one in the bathroom just has really big gaps, and also it looks like at one time they hung a door one way on it, and then they decided later on they wanted to hang the door to open in the opposite direction. And then when we bought the house, there wasn't even a door there, so I just don't understand what's happening with that door frame. So basically I'm going to replace both of these, and that's going to require me to cut into the drywall a little bit and cause a bunch of dust. And I didn't want the fan to be in the room whenever I do that because it's gonna basically go everywhere. It's gonna get in the motor. And I just really want to keep that fan as clean as possible since it is like a very expensive fan that we got lucky to get for a good price. So I'm gonna go ahead and work on these doors, take off the existing door frames and then put a new one, and then we'll just see how it goes after that. Okay, so after some reflection and taking apart the door, I think I'm actually to leave this door frame as is. It's definitely not perfect. I mean, I showed how there's like multiple hinges in the door, and also it's actually not equally sized on both sides. One side is actually 3.5 inches, the other is actually 3, but you can't really notice because it's pretty close. I just think it's going to be a really big pain to install this door frame because this door frame is actually installed on top of the drywall, and we currently don't have drywall on the bottom of the wall, so it's just going to be too much effort to do. So I'm just going to solve some of the problems that I found with the door. So let me show you what those are. Okay, so coming up and looking at this transom in the door, yeah, it does have multiple hinges on it, but that's fine. We actually have some other doors in the house that are like that. But the problem with this door is actually this gap on the bottom of the transom, and then actually this gap that I didn't notice until after I took the transom off. This gap is huge. It goes all the way back to the beadboard. It's like the piece of wood they put in there was not big enough or something. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and slide a piece of wood back here just to cover it, and then I can paint and caulk it, and I don't think anybody will ever notice. And then this front piece, I just don't understand. I don't know how they didn't cut it properly. Maybe they cut it too short and they were just tired of it, so they just put it up. So I'm going to go ahead and recut this front piece. Good morning, everybody. So it is now the weekend. We've made it to Saturday, and I still have not installed this fan. So last time we talked, I actually installed this door frame. So I installed some pieces around this door frame right next to me to get it up into a shape which is acceptable so that we can kind of keep moving forward in the room. And I said I was going to do the fan, but I've just decided that I want to wait until Lena comes back home before we do the fan. These fans weigh like 50 to 60 pounds, so lifting them in the air is kind of difficult, so she usually helps me. And also, I don't want to scrape the fan on anything, and that's usually what she helps me do too, is stabilize it whenever I'm lifting it up the ladder so that I don't scratch it on anything, because these fans are painted. So since it's Saturday and I have such a long day ahead of me, I'm thinking that what I want to do today is actually install the walls. So this room has been down to the studs for quite a while, and in that time we've been able to do electrical and plumbing and things of that nature. And now we really need to get to installing a cladding on these walls so that they look finished. So what Lana and I decided that we wanted to do for these walls is we're actually going to install beadboard paneling on the bottom portion of the walls. We're going to do this in lieu of a backsplash just because we couldn't really decide upon a backsplash that we thought we liked and also would last a long time. I mean, in terms of like style. We didn't want to pick something which would be outdated. And I do kind of worry that a lot of the subway tile is going to look dated. And in 2040, we're going to say that looks so 2020. So we're going to actually install some more beadboard paneling as if we don't have enough in the house. But it actually matches what was originally in this room. This room always had beadboard, and they just put drywall on top of it. So I'm going to start taking some measurements, cut the beadboard down and get it installed. But actually before I do that, I need to clean up this room because it is just a mess right now. So let's do that.
The decision to add beadboard to our kitchen was very intentional. I feel like I've said it on this channel a lot before, but we chose to add beadboard to our kitchen, number one, because I feel like it makes the most sense in terms of the style that we're going for. And honestly, if I had to describe our style, I would say I want you to be able to walk into our house and think that everything that you're looking at is original. Despite the fact that we renovated, we wanted to really stay true to the character of the home, the fact that we're in New Orleans. Like, there's just so many interesting design elements that you can incorporate that are actually really affordable. Like, beadboard itself is very easy to install compared to adding backsplash or tile or something of that sort. So that was definitely top of mind for us as we chose some of the final things that we were going to cover these ugly walls with. And I'm really happy with the way they turned out. They haven't been painted yet, but it was really easy to install. I say that even though Tyler installed it, and it wasn't as much work as adding tile. Something else that I wanted to bring up too is that there is a gap between the drywall and the beadboard. This gap is actually intentional. We knew that there would be a gap between the beadboard and the drywall, and our solution for it is to add a piece of trim to kind of go between it to act as a chair rail per se, and then we're going to do a shelf in some places. So have no fear, we will cover it up, but we're not going to do it until much later. So I just wanted to make note, put that out there. We know there's a gap, we will cover it. But yeah, please be sure to subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.